Hi everybody, nice to have you back in this course on sociology. Our main theme today is social change. To see the subjects matter that we will discuss today, you can go to slides number 3. In slide 3, you can see the 6 subtopics. The first is concept and definition of social change, of course. The second is various aspects of social change. Here we will discuss about the source of change, direction of change, level of change, etc. And the third subtopic is the direction and degree of change, where we will talk about evolution and revolution. The fourth subtopic is two perspectives of social change. That is the social change as a process, where we will discuss about the theory of modernization. And the second is the social change as interaction, where we will discuss the theory of dependencia. And the fifth subtopic is globalization and localization. And we will end this theme on social change with the discussion about development. Okay, then we will go to slide 5, where we start discussion about the concept and definition of social change. So in this slide 5, we will talk about the why sociology is interested in social change. As we will see, the subject of interest of sociology is a reflection, more or less, of the changes in society. The founding fathers of sociology in the 19th century was obsessed with change because of the rapid changes at that time. Rapid changes in front of their own eyes, because of the French Revolution, the rise of capitalism, and the Industrial Revolution, that brought rapid changes in almost all aspects of life. So rapid changes happen within the lifespan of a person. Before this period, for generations, people live in the same condition. People thought that the society where they lived is God-given, never changed. No more in the area of the Industrial Revolution, because then changes go so fast that in your own lifetime, you will see radical changes. So the radical changes starting in the 16th century brought with it exciting development, but also social chaos. So this unique condition captivated the interest of the founding fathers of sociology, such as Comte, Marx, Durkheim, and Max Weber. Almost a century later, the attention of the sociology shifted from social change again to stability and order. This is as a response to the 2 world wars that brought destruction and millions of human lives. So people look for stability, for examples and understanding of stability. And so too the sociologists. So stability and order become the main interest of sociology after the World War II. So after 2 decades, actually, in the 1960s, sociology, at least part of it, was again obsessed with change. This time it was motivated by the process of decolonization. The post-colonial development of the new states in the South shows different pattern of development if you compare with the development and evolution of the Western countries and Western nations. Theory of modernization, theory of dependencia were the product of this new interest of change. So change and stability and the tension between the two, the tension between change and stability, will always be subject of interest of sociology. So we can move to slide number 6. So slide number 6 shows a crystallization of the foregone slide, slide number 5. In sociology, there are two analytical approaches. Yeah? The first is emphasizing stability, and the second approach emphasizing change. And to get an understanding, a good understanding of community, of course, both approaches are important. The approach that emphasizes the change, we call it the diachronic perspective of society. It emphasizes the aspect of change in terms of time, historical dynamics of the society, and society in relation with its environment, social environment and natural environment. The approach that emphasizes stability and order, we call it synchronic perspective of the society. It emphasizes the static aspect of society, the aspect of order in the society, a momentary portrait of society. It tried to build the structure and the internal building of the society. This is what we call the synchronic perspective of society. So, of course, to understand society very well, then we need both approaches, the diachronic as well the synchronic. So in this slide number 7, we come to the definition of social change. There are dozens of definitions, of course. We put here 3 definitions. The first definition is from Selo Sumarchan, an Indonesian sociologist. He defines social change as a phenomenon of changes in social institutions that affect the social system. The second definition is from Calhoun. He defines social change as changes over time in the pattern of human attitudes and actions in the culture and structure of society. And the third definition is from Farley. Changes between time from patterns of behavior, social relation, institution, and social structures. So different definition, but all talking about the same phenomena. Yeah? You have the change over time, that is about change of institution, social institution, attitude, behavior, and social structure. Those are the aspects that always there when we talk about social change. So you taste a bit what social change meant for sociologists. But of course, there are, as I said, dozens of definitions of social change. So we come to the second subtopic, that is the various aspects of social change, where we will talk about the source of change, level of change, so etc. And also we will talk about social, cultural lack, and about conflict, social conflict. So we move to slide 9. So in this slide 9, we see different aspects of social change. We see here, for example, the source of change. There are many sources of change, of course. Cultural diffusion is one of it. Yeah? The influence of culture from one society to the other society. Yeah? We see that every day through import of goods, through information in the television, from new trends in clothing, in music, etc., etc. And it goes also with ideas, cultural diffusion in form of ideas. Yeah. That comes, as I already mentioned, by importing, by people that migrate from one country to the other country, from one society to the other society, from trade, and media, etc., etc. Source of change is also, for example, from more cynical source, like, for example, colonialism. Colonialism bring changes, radical changes even, in social relation, where in many occasions it involves racialist social relation, segregationist social relation, like, for example, in Indonesia in the past, from the Dutch as white and indigenous people as colored people. In South Africa, it is very obvious. In United States in the past, you see also this segregation of social relation. But changes also occur as internal dynamics within the society itself. So there are many sources of change, of course. And then we can also talk of level of change. Change can happen on the very small level, on the family level, but also in a more organizational level. For example, in the level of political parties, in social organizations within the society. Change can also happen on the community level, on the society level. For example, this what we call for the internal dynamic, changes in the internal dynamic of a society. But changes can also happen on the global level. In many cases, changes in the higher level has implications for the lower level. Economic crisis on the global level will have impact on the national level, for example. and that will have impact on the more lower level, like for example the family. Not the other way around. Seldom that changes on the family level produce changes in the global level, for example. But changes, for example, in the leadership of a nation can have impact on the international level. Like, for example, changes in the leadership of a nation, of a country, can have consequences in, for example, war between nations. So those are levels of change. We can also talk about direction and degree of change. Then we talk about, for example, evolution or long-term change. And about revolution, then we are talking about radical and rapid change, for example. Other aspect of change is changes in social structure. For example, changes in the stratification of society. For example, from a closed stratification where no social mobilization can happen. For example, in caste society is dominated by a structure of caste, like in India in the past. That can change in a more open society, like India now, for example, because it is now a democracy. Well, every individual from whatever caste, they have the same rights and obligation in the front of the law, in the national law. So this is changes on the societal level. Changes can also happen in the institutions of the society. For example, in the family. For example, in the past, people are brought up in extended family and educated within this extended family and in the religious institutions. But now, extended family is less influenced and it's taken over by nuclear family. Small family that is formed by parents and children, for example. And education or socialization of the new generation happen in specialized institutions that specialized in education, for example. Those are changes in the institution and organization. Changes can happen also in social relation. Changes in, for example, in the stratification from closed to open, of course, will change also the social relation between people. So those are changes in social structure. Changes can also happen in the cultural dimension, cultural change. Then we can talk about the changes in the material culture, like, for example, the architecture in the mode of fashion, dress fashion, changes in, for example, in art, for example. But changes can also happen in non-material sense, in ideas, in values, and in norms of society. And of course also in science and art. So those are changes in the cultural dimension. So But you can imagine that a societal change on a societal level will always bring uh, changes in the structural dimension as well in the cultural dimension. So those are what we call aspects of change. So we can now move to slide number 10, where we talk about cultural lack and social conflict. So in this slide number 10, we will talk about cultural lack and social cultural conflict. First, we will talk about cultural lack. When we talk about cultural lack, then it is about the product of an uneven development of the material culture vis-à-vis non-material culture. As we know, change occurs not equally fast and thoroughly in all elements of social structure and culture. Material culture, in many ways, change much faster than non-material culture. You can imagine the change of consumer goods, architecture, gadgets goes much faster than non-material culture like values in a society, norms in a society, tradition, ideology. So the difference between these two, material change in material culture and non-material culture, produce what we call cultural lack. So there are a couple of examples, like here, the development of modern traffic without adequate understanding of traffic norms will produce traffic chaos. Of course, we understand that. So too, rapid development of communication, media and digital information without the development of norms and digital communication ethics will produce hoax and conflicts, virtual conflicts, conflicts in the virtual world. That is about cultural lack. So we are talking about social and cultural conflict. Change in social structure is seldom smooth and harmonious. In most cases, it produces conflicts because it often involves the division of power and control over resources between the upper and lower classes, between the colonial and colonized. So those changes will produce conflict in most cases. You can imagine, for example, the abolishing of slavery and race segregation in the United States in the past, and in South Africa in the near past. Those changes create conflict between the white society and the colored society in general in South Africa. So too, for example, the banning of caste system in India, for example, that will create conflict, because that means that certain part of the society has to give part of their power to the other part of the society. So it is quite easily to understand that changes in social structure will create conflicts. So too, changes in cultural aspect. In most cases, it is also not smooth and harmonious. Like, so, for example, the cultural changes that goes with the development of society, where new norms and values were introduced. Yeah. So there will be conflict between parts of society that like to hang on the old norms and values and tradition, yeah, with the new generation that championing the new norms and values. So you have then this conflict between generations. So too, for example, the demands of women to get equal political, social, and economic rights, for example, that bring conflict within society, not only between men and women, but between people, men and women, that cling to old system, structure, stereotyping of women, yeah, with men and women that championing the equal rights between men and women. So too, the diffusion of external cultural elements are not equally accepted by all groups in society. So you see here that changes in social structure and in cultural aspect of society, in most cases, bring also conflict. Okay, we will then now go to the next subtopic. Subtopic about the direction of change, I guess. In topic 3, subtopic 3, we will talk about evolution and revolution. First, of course, we will talk about evolution. We go to slides 12. So in this slide 12, we will talk about evolution. Evolution is understood as a universal development from a simple to complex condition and forms. It happened, yeah, on Earth. So the Earth underwent also the process of evolution, yeah, of all beings on Earth, on societies, on government, businesses, languages underwent evolution. Yeah. Knowledge, art, etc., etc. Evolution runs through structural and functional differentiation process, from simple to more complex forms of functions, from universality to the heterogeneity and specialization, yeah, from general to more articulate and specific. If we are talking, for example, about structural differentiation process, then we are talking about, for example, the increasing complexity of the roles and statuses within the society. Yeah. A simple society, in a simple society, roles is divided among men and women, or among elder people and younger people, for example. If the society become more complex, then role division is not only based on gender and seniority, but also, for example, based on education. So there are more roles and more statuses developed in a more complex society through a process of evolution. And so also with the functional differentiation, yeah, in the past, many functions in the society, from socialization of its members, yeah, to production of food, is united in the family, yeah, as an institution. Yeah. With time, new institutions were established to fulfill also more specialized functions. Yeah. according to the increase of more needs of the society. So you have, for example, specialized institution on education, on production, in the politics, etc., etc. So that is what we meant when we talk about functional differentiation process. Okay, we will move now to slide 13. So in this slide number 13, we will talk further about the process of evolution. So, as already explained, the evolution of society involved structural and functional differentiation. For example, a society that evolved from a simple to a more complex society involved a change in its structure and its the functions of its institution. Freddy Antonis used the term Gemeinschaft to characterize the simple society. It is characterized by a small number of members, primary relationship between the members, face-to-face relationship between the members. And the more complex society is characterized by Tonis as a Gesellschaft, that is characterized by a large number of members using secondary relationship dominantly. Now, with this change from simple to complex society, then there is a need of a new integrational system. The integrational system in a simple society, a system that binds, that unites the society, is not enough anymore to bind and unite a complex society. So there is a need to change these integrational systems. Durkheim called the integrational system in a simple society as the mechanical solidarity. Now, this mechanical solidarity is the tradition that is inherited from generation to generation in this simple society. So a member of the simple society, from its birth until its adulthood, all what he can do, the norms and the values that he has to attend is already there in that tradition. That is already inherited from generation to generation. So Durkheim called this a kind of a mechanical solidarity. On the other side, in a complex society, the integrational system, the system that binds the society, that unites the society, is called by Durkheim as organic solidarity. This organic solidarity works quite different than the mechanical solidarity. This organic solidarity is actually based on the complex division of labor and interdependency between the roles within the society. That complex division and interdependence and the interdependence between the roles within the society, that is what binds the members of the society together, that unites the community, this complex society together. So you have this chains of integrational systems. So you can imagine that in the beginning period of the growth of sociology as science, in the time of the founding fathers of sociology, the society changed very fast, and with this change come chaos in the society because the old norms and the new norms collided within the society, and it produced conflicts and chaos. So one of the main main concern of the founding fathers of sociology is to find a new integrational system for the society, a new binding system for the society that is now changing so fast. With that background, you must understand why Durkheim then think about and develop these ideas, this idea about mechanical solidarity and organic solidarity. Okay. Of course, with the growth of this world society become more and more complex, you can think about new integrational systems. At the moment, you can imagine that there are other integrational systems, like, for example, international institutions that try to control the behavior of the societies, countries in the world. United Nations, for example, is one of these international bodies that try to preserve stability and harmony between different nations in the world. So also you have this international organization and in trade and production and in economy, and so those institutions try to somehow to control or to try to establish stability between this the many countries in the world. For example, also institutions that control the exploitation of marine resources, for example. Marine resources are common pool resources. It is very difficult to divide the sea between the countries. So every country tries to exploit the sea for its own interest. So to prevent conflict and degradation of the environment, there is this international organizations, institutions that try to somehow to control this exploitation of the common pool resources, and sea as the common pool resources. Maybe this can you say also this become the part of the new integrational system, integration system within our new world, which is much complex already in compare with the world where Durkheim lived. So we come now to revolution. Revolution is a rapid change touching all levels and dimensions of society: economic, politics, culture, social organization, daily life, even personality of people. Revolution is a radical and fundamental change and can be viewed as a dynamic explosion that intersects the slow flow of historical processes. So many important events in the world are labeled with revolution. We hear about technological revolution, 4.0, for example, industrial revolution, even Indonesian independent revolution. In these examples, rapid means different. the time dimension is relative. In compared to what? The agricultural revolution, for example, 10,000 years ago, involved a process of thousands of years. It is called revolution in compared to the 100,000 of years where almost no change happened. And it is called revolution because it triggers a chain of changes like rising population. The surplus of food gave room for the growth of specialization, trade, the growth of cities, more complex political and governmental systems, more complex religions. So time means different in this case, yeah? Or the meaning of rapid has a different meaning in this agricultural revolution in compare, for example, with industrial revolution that took a process of hundreds of years. But for example, technological revolution from 1.0 to 4.0 happened in a span of just 2 centuries. So the term rapid has to be understood in a relative way. Then we have the French Revolution. It is not about change of technology or production process, but about social and political change, the dethroning of the monarchy and the birth of the republic, and the universal human rights. So these revolutions that we have mentioned has global influence. Then there are also revolutions with limited influence, such as the revolutions for independence from colonialism after the World War II. Many new countries got their independence from violent revolutions, for example, physical revolutions like, for example, in Indonesia, Vietnam, for example. So revolutions can be attached to many great events in the field of technology, process of production, social political systems, the change of emancipatory movements, and because it involves radical changes. It has consequences in all aspects of life, and geographically it can influence, its influence can go far from where it happens, for example. So that is a bit about revolution. We will go now to the next subtopic.